My voice is completely fucked up because I had to do one of those like car commercial things. Is for like a destruction derby, and our guy that normally does that isn't here, so I had to be like, Sunday, Sunday, Sunday.
Monsters Energy drink.
Hello, and welcome to another exciting episode of Tudor Talk.
Bonjour.
Oui.
Tudor, I hardly know her. That's the real name of the
That's
show.
right.
Tudor, I hardly do her.
Oh, right. We do have a show, don't we? I kind of
Yes.
forgot. It's been too long.
So long.
It has been long.
Oh, God.
Sorry, guys.
It's
Hold on,
been.
Been a while.
Yeah, but Garrett did an AMA on our Facebook, and that was delightful.
The weird thing is, it's not
I got
Garrett. The
two
reason
questions.
it's not the Garrett wasn't the reason we couldn't record ever.
No, it was totally me and Jeff. We
You
just
guys are
had.
busy people, though.
Yeah.
I'm
Jeff-
growing babies.
Jeff was also starting a new job in the last couple weeks, so
Yeah.
it's been like super crazy for me.
Yeah, so we just needed some time to get used to the new schedule and feel good about everything. And also, my little brother was moving out, so it was just a lot going on. But we're back.
From
We're
outer
outer
back
space.
to the
space.
real important things, which is
The Tudors.
podcast, Tudors.
Tudor specifically. Podcasts in general, but the Tudor specifically.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm hoping we'll go back to a weekly format soon.
I think that's why people like that post I made the most. It's not like, Garrett's doing an AMA. It's, no, we're going to be back to weeklies.
I'm looking forward to doing it. I'm glad I have more energy now and reinvigorated tutoriness because I just finished 2 books. They were both very excellent. Well, the first one was excellent. The second one was just okay. The first one, I'm going to talk about it because I've been bringing it up in the last couple episodes. It was called The Private Lives of Tutors, and I highly recommend it. And it discusses exactly what it sounds like, the private lives of tutors. So they go into what they were like behind the scenes, how their need for privacy influenced the architecture of the buildings they were in, because it wasn't like a house where you walk in and there's just rooms. It was like, okay, you walk into the palace and then you're in the Great Hall. And then if you want to get to the King's Chamber, you actually have to go through 4 other chambers that are attached to the King's Chamber. And there were people in each room allowing you to get past that. It was kind of like a Legend of Zelda game when you're in a dungeon and you have to defeat a boss.
You have to go to this room, get the key. Now go to this room, and you got to flip the switch, which opens the door in another
Yeah.
room.
Yeah. And Wolsey was the boss you had to fight.
He was
Before-
the
he was
the sub mini boss.
He was
He was the mid-boss.
He was the little Bowsers. Henry VIII was the big Bowser.
Don't make fun of his weight like that.
Wolsey was Bowser Jr.
Yes.
And then you had Bowser.
And who was Cromwell?
I like to think of them as Waluigi and Wario.
I like that. I like the idea of
Wolsey.
Wah.
Oh, my God.
I bet you our listeners miss this. Anyway,
Talking about bullshit? Never.
that was a very good book. I very much enjoyed it. I cited it a couple of times in the last couple episodes. It was just really amazing, and it gave me some other ideas. I was going to use one today, but decided to talk about a person instead. The other book I finished was the Anne Boleyn book in Alison Weir's new series. It's A King's Obsession. And it definitely gives a different take on Anne. It doesn't give a different take on not Jane Seymour. Jane Rochford, Jane Boleyn. The book was all right. I flew through it. I finished that one in like less than a week. But it was just a very different take on Anne. Most books portray her as she actually loved the king. Most books that I've read have portrayed her as, at first she didn't love the king, but then she actually fell in love with the king. And this book is definitely a little bit different. I'm not going to ruin anything for you guys, but check it out.
Spoiler alert, she dies.
She does.
Now, is this historical fiction or is this...
It's historical fiction.
Okay.
It's really interesting, though, because there are certain things that we know actually happened and things that were actually said between Henry and Anne. either in letters or, I mean, most of the stuff is reported through letters, but it was really interesting because they'd have these conversations and then you'd see one of the comments that were actually said. For example, Henry VIII told Anne Boleyn when she was upset about him having an affair that she needed to close her eyes as her betters did before her, referring to Catherine of Aragon. And just various things like that. So that was sprinkled in, and that was kind of fun. But it was...
So, I'm sorry, do these books take a more like speculative approach or more just like fan fiction?
I mean, everything's kind of a speculative approach.
Mm-hmm.
Alison Weir doesn't really... You can't really say Alison Weir does fan fiction because she does a ton... I mean, half of her books are fiction and half of her books are biographies about these people. So...
Okay.
You can't really say hers would be like fan fiction. It's just like a different view based on what we know. And we really do not know that much. We have a general idea, but we don't even know exactly when Anne was born. We can just speculate. People think that Anne may have been the younger sister because Mary Boleyn got married first, and that was what happened. The older daughter got married first. But there are some random things that make people believe that Anne was the older sibling, and for whatever reason she just didn't get married first. So with history, there's a lot of conjecture. There's a lot of, well, according to this document, I think I can make this assessment, and according to this document, I can make this assessment. So we're able to actually assume Henry loved Anne because we still have the letters Henry VIII wrote to Anne. We do not currently have the letters that Anne wrote to Henry. So you're getting like half stories and using that to draw your own conclusion. So some people are using that to write history books. Other people are using it to write nonfiction. So this one was definitely speculative. What if this is why Anne ended up being queen? Yada, yada, yada. But her next one is, I think the Jane Seymour one might be out. It's just called Jane Seymour Meh. I'm just kidding. Anyway, are you guys ready to hop on pop?
What?
No, but I am ready to talk Tudor.
Let's do it. So it's going to be a short episode, and I'm sorry about that. But I think Garrett and Jeff will actually have a decent amount of input on this. This came as a recent request from a listener. We mentioned Will Summers last episode as Henry VIII's fool, and one of our listeners requested a whole episode on him. So today we are going to discuss Will Summers, Henry VIII's fool.
Funny thing about that, in my little AMA quote that I did, I can't remember her name, but she asked, what would my preferred position in court be? And I said I would like to be the jester.
You don't want to be the guy who wipes Henry VIII's ass?
You know, that was a strong second possibility, but I
So
think I
as
could be better at... What's that, Jeff?
What? Nothing.
I wipe my own ass. I wipe my own ass.
Garrett, what do you think a court jester did in those days?
What
Do a
do
little
you think the
stand-up.
court jester-
It was like
Got some
Seinfeld.
material. Yeah. What's the deal with the king's weight? He's
What's-
over 300 pounds.
What's the deal with the Pope?
I feel... didn't we talk about a little bit about the role of the jester where he was able to like talk shit to the king's face, but like not really get in trouble for it from the king?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is that why you want that job?
Yeah, I could be like, oh man, you suck. That's what I hear.
That's like the
You'd be
idea of like you're not even
"Ooh."
like funny or sarcastic about it. You're like, you fat, stupid, ugly. Like you're just vicious sounding. Like, oh my god, dude, calm down.
I see
The
a lot
roast of Henry VIII.
Hey, do we want to get political with this episode?
Sure.
I see a lot of comparisons between Henry VIII and our current orange Oompa Loompa in chief.
Our Cheeto in chief.
Our Cheeto in chief.
I like Cheeto Benito.
I like Cheeto Benito.
Chiquita Banana.
He is our Cheeto Benito. So, A lot of comparisons between the two. Who would be our current Cheetos court jester?
I would say like The Daily Show or John Oliver, but
Yeah, but he hates them.
but he hates them.
So here's the question: who do you think he would actually listen to criticism from, but like laugh it off?
Putin.
Putin. Oh, you got that backwards. I'm pretty sure Trump is Putin's jester. I was kind of thinking, I don't know. I feel like, well, I was going to say his son, but he's thrown him under the bus lately.
Well, the thing is, I don't think that there's anybody who like tells Trump that he like fucks up, but is also in his good graces. Like if somebody tells Trump that he fucks up or like talks shit about Trump, then Trump immediately goes to Twitter and talks shit about them. Like, I don't even know this guy.
I am fairly certain there are like 5 Cromwells in his office who were like, yeah, okay, Mr. President, and then they go and do what they want.
I mean, maybe Mike Pence, but fuck that guy too.
Okay, but what have you actually seen him do? That's the thing. I mean, he's a douchebag with terrible ideological...
He's trying to outlaw the X-Men.
Somebody told him the X-Men was a documentary.
I almost spit my water out. You can't do that to me. Oh my God. What would that make him? Striker?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen X.
He would have been the original Cinder Keeley.
Yes.
Anyway.
Okay. I guess back to history, which is less depressing than our current political climate. So not much is really known about Will Sommers' early life, but we do know he was brought to Greenwich in 1525 by a courtier named Richard Fermor, whatever. Fermor.
Fermagerd is Fermer.
Fermagerd.
It's like you're trying to say like Thor's hammer Mjolnir.
Mjolnir. It's Fermor. Fermor.
Okay.
How would the British say it?
He's son of Boromir,
I am Richard, son of Faramir.
father of Faramir.
He came to court in 1525, and Henry VIII really liked his sense of humor, so he was like, do you want a job? And it was almost like everybody who moves out to LA, what actually happens with them, where they're just randomly discovered.
That's what they hope is going to happen. I'm going to
Yeah.
go out there. I'm going to be the king's
He had to
jester,
wait
just like you
tables for a
see.
while, and you know,
I just need my big break. I just need to see the king once, and he'll...
slumming it in a couple roles, doing some things he wasn't very
Look
proud
at this.
of.
Look at me, Dad. I'm part of the court.
You said I'd never amount to anything. Now look, I'm this close to being able to wipe his ass.
Oh my God! I just like the idea of him going home and he's like, his dad's still gloating over his brother Gary, who's like the groom of the stool. He's like, fine, you make fun of him, but at least your brother gets to hang out with him in the bathroom all the time.
Yeah. But if you think about it, so he came to court at 1525, and honestly, that's the best fucking time to come to court because it's right at the end of like Catherine of Aragon's pregnancies and the beginning of Henry VIII falling in love with Anne Boleyn, and Catherine is still in power and she's still respected as the queen, and nobody really knows that there's about to be a shitstorm on the horizon, and the great matter wasn't quite that great yet. It was just the itty bitty issue. TM. Itty bitty issue.
Would he have multiple fools?
Teensy tiny matter.
Yeah, some of them would.
Okay.
I don't think he did. I think he just really had will.
Okay. Well, so when I'm trying to remember, like, when did Henry come to be a king? What year was it?
1509.
Okay. Oh, so he's already been king for like
14 years.
All right.
16 years. Sorry.
and
Me, bad math.
and we don't know if he had a fool before Will or not.
He
that's-
probably did. It was a pretty standard. Will was like the main fool. Will ended up being, I was going to say this later, Will ended up being the fool later on in Mary the First's reign, but he was like the sidekick fool. So I'm sure there were other fools. There was a juggler at court too. So
Okay.
there are other entertainers there.
He was Johnny Carson, and then he had little like mini Ed McMahons around him.
Exactly. I have a theory about Will Summers, though. Will Summers lasted the entirety of Henry VIII's reign and into his children's reigns. I think he was a time traveler. And he
What?
survived because he knew everything that was going to happen. And he just wanted to witness it with his own eyes. Because he arrived in 1525.
My God, Will
right-
Summers is Garrett.
Our friend
Wait,
Garrett. The co-host Garrett.
Yeah, he's eventually gonna
You
learn time
know-
travel and go back in time. Just like I just want to see all this shit happen.
I can
Yeah.
totally see it. Shit, we've read the future, which is that Garrett goes to the past.
Oh crap! Paradox.
Fuck. Doc Brown is
And
gonna
then
be so
I
pissed.
and then I'm in his court, and then I play Johnny Be Good.
On the loot though.
It's a little too early for you guys. But you
No,
kids
he gets the hurdy-gurdy.
Oh yeah, you use the hurdy-gurdy.
love it.
Fucking love that hurdy-gurdy.
At Henry VIII's Enchantment Under the Sea court party,
It'd be at the
the Field of Cloth and Gold.
either that either the Field of Cloth or of Gold. No, it's the Field of Cloth of Gold. That's appropriate.
He's trying to get him to hook up with Anne Boleyn because he sees pictures of Queen Elizabeth fading away. No, he sees our podcast fading away.
Oh
There's
no.
no subject to talk about. No.
That's the biggest crime.
It is. Everybody, it's not that Protestantism wouldn't exist. It's not that
Because our
wo-
podcast would not exist.
It's simply that our podcast wouldn't exist.
He actually doesn't hooks up with Anne Boleyn and he just sticks with Catherine Aragon the rest of the life. And it's just really boring.
It's just
He
whatever.
retires. He's
Yeah.
playing golf all day. He's
Oh, actually, it's terrible because Mary the First actually becomes queen, but she's a terrible queen,
oh my god.
even without all the drama.
even bloodier.
Yeah, Garrett is Will Summers, and he's a time traveler. Anyway, Will
Fact.
Summers was pretty beloved by Henry. He was the only person allowed to call him Hal, Harry, or even Uncle, which is a weird one. and
Pal, buddy.
I'm not gonna approach the uncle thing because that's a little
Weird.
creepy. Apparently, he had a humped back, like
Uncle Hank.
he had a hunch, like Richard III.
Aw.
And this article I was reading that was talking about this specifically pointed out that it was like Richard III. And it kind of got me thinking, this is purely speculation. So the Tudors were all about a smear campaign about Richard III. I mean, he definitely sucked, but the Tudors wanted to play that up because they defeated him on the battle. And so it was easier to be like, oh, Richard III was a humpback asshole who we killed in battle and we rescued the country.
Just make whale noises to him the entire time.
So I wonder if there was any ever like a Richard III, look at him, he's a big old fool kind of correlation happening. That's probably a far stretch, but whatever. This is my podcast. I say what I want. Will was
like a little propaganda thing. Like, hey, like he wasn't fit to be king. He was fit to be a fool, maybe.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
see, that's what I think. And they were all about. I mean, the Tudors did they were great with propaganda. So, I mean, Henry VIII was a fucking monster, and yet after he died, people still called him Good King Hal. So, good propaganda.
I don't think I remember ever hearing the Hal part before.
Yeah, this is new to me.
Yeah, that was apparently just a thing that you called him, Good King Hal.
Was this someone who's just dyslexic and saw like HVII but read the V as an A?
I mean, maybe it's like how Goodbye came to be, where it's like, I'm not kidding. There's a lot of shit that came to be because people used to like do shorthand script, like G2G gotta go, except in old timey stuff, and so it would come up with new shit. I can't think of an example, but maybe it was like that.
I'm trying to think.
I can't think.
There was something that like nowadays it's like it's common term, the shorthand version of it.
I
But
feel like I
people
read
don't realize
something.
it's like long for something else.
I feel like I read something the other day
LOL.
about Goodbye. Okay, goodbye is a contraction of God be with you. And someone wrote like a shorthand version of it, almost like LOL, and it became goodbye.
Ahoy hoy.
Ahoy hoy. So, yeah. Anyway, Will was very clever, very witty, and he was also very kind and generous to the poor. I didn't find anything that said why he was how he was generous to the poor, but I guess he was just generous.
He just kind of go out and perform on the streets, give him a little taste of.
He didn't spit on them.
Yeah.
I don't know what the standards were for being good to the poor. Like, was he giving them money? Was he just?
He said hello to me once.
He was a good guy. One time he punched me in the face.
It
Was
nice.
awesome.
He could have easily kicked me in the balls.
I was quoting Mean Girls, and because you've never seen that,
Yeah.
you wouldn't know.
Yeah.
Monster.
Yeah.
So, as we mentioned before, as a fool, he was allowed to say almost anything. I add the almost because there was one time where he did get in trouble. In 1535, Sir Nicholas Carew dared Will to call Queen Anne a ribald and Elizabeth a bastard. And he did. And Henry was so pissed that he threatened to kill Somers with his own hands. So he had to go and hide at Carew's house.
I imagine it's like a Homer
Until
and Bart
Henry
situation.
was not so angry. It was more like a Homer. Yeah.
Why
yep.
you little?
Yep, definitely. Interestingly, Carew was a champion of Princess Mary. He was all for bringing her back into the line of succession. So he was probably not too upset about what happened. And he was eventually executed for treason. But the fool was basically the only person who was allowed to criticize the king or queen. They just kind of had to do it in the joking manner. So he could juggle, tell stories, perform acrobatic tricks, and quote-unquote magic. So he was basically Cirque du Soleil, including the BMX bike
I'm
stunts.
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm just imagining like some court jester, like, you know, juggling and doing like cartwheels and stuff. And all the meantime, he's like, "You suck as a king. You're fat. Nobody likes you."
But the fool was also... I read one thing and it said that the fool was also the one who would give bad news to the monarch, because I guess there was just like this rule, like you can't get mad at the fool. So if he tells you that, you know, Spain has invaded Rome and taken the Pope prisoner, then
Hey, I hear that Anne Boleyn might be sleeping with her brother.
he's Groucho Marx.
I want to believe it's like the king is sitting on his throne, and then the fool comes in, and the king's like rubbing his hands together, like, "Oh boy, he's got a joke for me," and the jester's like, "That's what you think."
Yeah, but what if he's so straight-faced about it you can't tell if he's joking or not?
Many people
Oh,
died
that's so
today.
good. He's very deadpan.
Just like that. I say it straight face and people die and you start laughing at me.
Exactly. Cromwell liked Somers because Somers would joke about the extravagance and waste within the court, and Henry VIII would be like, "I know that was a joke, but you've actually got a point," and then he would allow Cromwell to act on it.
I feel like he was like the modern Daily Show, like this Daily Show of his time.
I think
Because
he
it's
was.
like
He
it's like
was.
how some people actually learn some news by
Yeah.
watching Daily Show that's just making fun of the news.
Yep. So there is one instance where
that's a really good point, Jeff.
I think it's accurate. There was one instance where he humiliated the court juggler. He was carrying milk and bread, and Will asked the king for a spoon, and the king said he didn't have one. And the juggler said, "Use your hands." And Will replied with a little poem. "This bit, Harry, I give to thee, and this next bit must serve to me. Both which I'll eat apace, this bit, madam, unto you, and this bit I myself eat now, and the rest upon thy face." Then he threw milk at the juggler's face and ran out. So the juggler was so embarrassed that he never came back to court. It was
I
like
mean,
a middle school...
You just got milked.
It sounds like a middle school bully. "I'm never going back to school, Mom. They all laughed at me. Not in the way I wanted. Just trying to juggle."
You're made a fool by the fool. What else do you have in life?
what happened today, honey? Will threw milk in my face.
What an honor.
I like to imagine like he tried juggling in other places, but he just couldn't get the image of milk in his face.
Yeah,
out
he
of
had
his
like
mind. He just always fucked up his
milk
juggling routine.
PTSD. They had to get rid of the cows.
You just be walking on the street, see a cow, and just starts like gets in a fetal position, starts crying.
He's just kind of like lounging on his like I don't know Elizabethan sofa or whatever, and his wife's like, "Honey, can you grab some milk?" And he's like, "Milk, milk."
Why would you say that to me? You know how much that upsets me. But Will Summers did pretty well for himself financially. There are a couple portraits and pictures of him. In one, he's wearing either fur or velvet and a gold collar.
Jesus.
Right? So they were likely gifts from Henry VIII.
He be
as
rolling.
like I mentioned in the last episode, hand-me-down clothes were pretty frequently gifted from royals to their servants and their friends. So Henry VIII would wear a hat once and be like, I don't want this anymore. Who wants my nice velvet hat that costs more than you make in a year?
Oh, wait, so he's Macklemore.
He's he's like Gwyneth Paltrow. I can totally see Gwyneth Paltrow being like, I used my golden spatula once. Which of my petty servants would like it? Later in life, Will was the only one capable of lifting Henry VIII's spirits when his leg was all pussy and stinky.
I thought you were gonna say lifting Henry VIII's body.
I thought the exact same
Yes,
thing.
he was the only one.
Will Summers
was
was so jacked.
ripped.
From all that juggling he does.
He's like Carrot Top. Have you seen Carrot Top recently?
It's freaky.
Yeah, that dude is jacked.
Garrett, if you're going to travel back in time and be Will Summers, you better start working out now.
Start pumping weights.
No, he was the only one capable of lifting his spirits. So when Henry VIII would be all sad because his leg was pussy and disgusting and smelly.
So do you think like post 1536, when Henry VIII's mind's not all there, he just like, wow, this is so much easier now. All my material takes like nothing to entertain him. I just jingle some car keys in front of him. He starts laughing.
He's like a kitten.
Yeah.
Occasionally, Henry VIII would yell at him, which was kind of normal. Henry VIII yelled at everybody, but he was also one of the only few who, towards the end of Henry VIII's life, he was one of the only few who Henry actually confided in. So in The Tudors, the TV show, there is an episode after Jane Seymour dies where Henry locks himself into a room and just spends days drawing plans for Nonsuch Palace. And Will Summers is in there with him, and he's the only one he'll talk to. And he's played by Argus Filch.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
Yep.
I was even just kind of thinking, like, who've been playing the fool on that show?
I mean, he was way too old for it because
especially if he lived all the way into the
Elizabeth's reign.
yeah.
Yeah. So. God, sorry. I don't mean to keep yawning.
So I'm imagining they both thought of each other as good friends. Maybe.
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
As much as Henry VIII considers anyone a friend. But he was very valued, and he was actually included in 3 paintings, which huge big deal back then. One was of Henry VIII and his family, and that was completed around 1545. So that painting, I'm pretty sure, includes Jane Seymour, and she was long dead. So it was Henry, his 3 children. I think Jane Seymour was in it, and then Will Summers is in it as well. Maybe Will Summers was his child.
Ooh.
That's why we don't know anything about his background.
Yeah.
He's a bastard.
Another painting was called Psalter.
I'm sure that's not what it was.
Psalter of Henry VIII, Psalter. Psalter. And the third was another one that was discovered in 2008. So he was important enough to be included in family pictures, and Henry clearly liked him and didn't decapitate him.
He was essentially the house pet.
He was. After Henry VIII died, Will served at the courts of both Edward and Mary. He was recorded as making Edward laugh once. And he was...
All the other times, Edward was too sick to do anything.
No, he just didn't. It was Edward. He was like that super strict little kid who was just like, Nothing makes me laugh. I am a joyless child. And then Mary, he was the only one capable of making her laugh, even though he was, as I said earlier, he was the sidekick of her main fool named Jane Fool. They weren't
Aw.
too subtle. His last performance, his farewell tour, was at Elizabeth I's coronation, and then he died in 1560.
Oh.
Jeez.
Now,
He actually was around for quite some time.
yeah.
I know.
Do they know when he was born, or
Nope.
have any idea,
Nope.
or how old he might have been when he was taken to court?
Or his,
Nope.
who his family even was.
Nope.
Jeez, that's weird.
What a
Yep.
mystery!
Like this man is that close to
It's
the
because
court
he's a
and
time traveler, guys.
just
Oh my
appeared
God,
out of
right.
nowhere.
It'd be really weird if it said born in 1988, Garrett Kaiser.
89.
You're in 89?
January.
Oh, fuck. Yeah, I forgot.
If I was 88, I'd be 30 already, and I don't know if I'd be able to live with that.
Yeah, have fun with that one.
Anyway,
Now-
that's
Now, I have Will Summers' Wikipedia page pulled up right now. Okay,
yeah.
and it shows that picture, Henry VIII and his family,
Yeah.
and it says, on the far right is Will Summers, and it says suggested that the woman on the far left of the painting is a jester named Jane Fool. So there was a female court jester.
Well, yeah, I just mentioned Jane Fool as Mary's fool. So I guess, female jesters weren't abnormal, but I didn't realize Jane Fool was also Henry VIII's fool. I guess you just, it really was like a pet. You get to inherit them. But yeah, female fools were a thing. Now,
Okay.
remember last episode I talked about how sometimes fools were mentally handicapped?
Yeah.
I was gonna bring that up. 'Cause
Yeah,
remember
I
you
don't
bringing
think Will was, but his humpback probably was a contributing factor. Jane may have actually been. It's really hard to tell.
Now, like, do they wear like the cliche jester outfit you always think of when you watch like old movies, like where the little like multicolored outfit with the hat with the big kind of horns that come out with bells on the end?
I doubt that.
In one of the pictures of him that was made years later, he is wearing the velvet and like he was actually dressed like one of Henry VIII's other servants, but he did have the jester's hat and cowbell in his belt. And then Christopher Walken would come up and demand more cowbell.
Wow, the jester, so funny.
So no, I don't think they actually dressed like that. Maybe for a performance though.
Yeah,
Like he probably wasn't going around wearing it all the time, but
like only like probably the big.
if there were
occasion stuff.
pageants or feasts, like holidays, he would probably wear
Yeah,
something.
because like that's one of the things everyone like you hear jester, and that's like usually everyone's first thought is that typical outfit you see.
yeah,
Like, you-
I think that might.
I'm trying to look up to see when it would have been used, but I can't.
I think that Motley outfit you guys are thinking of was more like 1300s.
Okay.
Because I'm reading a book about Eleanor of Aquitaine, and she kind of introduced jesters to France. So I feel like it's around the 1400s,
Mm-hmm.
but who can really tell? History, it's a mystery. Sorry. Anyway, that is Will Summers.
I like that quite a lot.
Thank you.
Quite a lot.
I was going to do a different one, but we did a topic last time, so I wanted to focus on a person this time.
Mm-hmm.
So
No, those because you brought him up in a previous episode, and
yes, I did.
we talked about him a little bit, and I thought that'd be an interesting person to talk about. So
Yes, I did.
thanks to whoever suggested that.
I could tell you in just 1 minute. It was it was a lady named Randy. Thank you, Randy.
Thank you.
Also, Garrett, the other day I was trying to send this to you, but my phone was being a bitch. Somebody was out and about the other day,
Okay.
in Indy, and they thought that they heard us at a cafe.
What?
And they were like really freaking out and excited. And I was like, nope, sorry, we're old people. We're all hanging out at home doing old people stuff.
Oh, I thought you meant like somebody was like at a cafe and then like playing our podcast.
No,
like,
no.
Loudly.
They like started fanning out. They started fangirling because they thought we were there.
What cafe was it?
It was the Egyptian Cafe. I'm pretty sure it's a hookah cafe.
I think I've been there.
Exotic tobaccos and knowledgeable, friendly staff.
Is that the one in Broderpool?
Yeah, I think that's the
Yeah.
one.
Yeah,
I
I've been
remember
there
going
before.
After Casey's wedding.
Yes. I remember that.
Guys, we don't talk about that.
We
dark
were
time.
there just like 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's weird to think about.
I don't think there's anything else.
Is there anything like we've had like questions or anything like that we want to
I'm going
speak on the
through
air?
right
I'm trying
now.
to remember. We've gotten like a lot of messages and comments and posts from people. Like trying to remember.
I'm reading a couple, and I'm not seeing any real questions.
Mm-hmm.
But if you guys do have questions, send them our way because we'll compile them and throw them into like this like end of podcast like little area where we're like, okay, we don't know what to talk about
The
anymore.
post-topic
We just end
talk.
the show.
Oh, Garrett and Jeff, you guys missed this. I was reading in a book that Henry VII had a slight lazy eye. Oh, I love how excited you are.
He just looked like, he looked like a
so-
Peter Falk from Columbo and
Yes.
Princess Bride.
Yeah.
Oh, they got very nice shoes.
So
Buttercup.
okay, we can end on this. Tell an embarrassing story about myself. So when I was in preschool, the person in charge of the teacher in our preschool class, she had a very bad lazy eye.
Oh.
It looked straight up at the ceiling.
Oh my God.
And I asked her one day why she keeps staring at the ceiling, not knowing what a lazy eye was.
Aw.
I mean, preschool. What did?
Yeah. But like that has stuck with me. Like that is one of my earliest memories.
What did she say?
I think she was like a little taken aback, and then she, calmly explained what a lazy eye was, and I was like, "Oh, okay. I will never do that again."
I just like visualizing like small child-sized Garrett, but with the same voice.
Excuse me. Why do you keep staring at the ceiling?
It's just one of those things kids say that
Yeah.
they just have no filter.
Kids don't know.
Yeah. They don't know
Yeah.
what a
Blame my
lazy eye
parents
is,
for not explaining to me what a lazy eye was.
How dare you?
right?
Mom and Dad.
Well, now that Garrett's thoroughly embarrassed,
Yeah. Share your embarrassing stories.
yeah, send us your embarrassing stories. We'll read them. That'll be fun. Find us on Twitter at Tudor Know Her and on Facebook at Tudor I Hardly Know Her. And that rate and review us and subscribe.
Tell your
Mhm.
friends.
Tell your friends.
Tell your friends. Tell your family. Tell your strangers on the bus.
Tell your cat.
Tell-
I know you're lonely.
Tell the
Yeah.
demons living in your house. Tell the creepy guy living in Eric's attic.
Hey, we don't have to deal with that anymore because I record from the radio station now.
That's
and
true.
It's way better.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
like it. I like it a lot. So,
Going from a crappy rock band microphone and a napkin holder to a legitimate recording studio.
this is a big difference, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
And no beeping.
Beep, beep,
Oh, God, no beeping. Just me
beep, beep.
squeaking around on my chair.
I
Do you
hear
think
that.
people stick around when we start talking bullshit like this and just being goofy?
I don't know.
Sometimes.
Let's see.
I don't know. We have no way. I don't
Testing.
think we have a way of testing to see like how long people listen to our podcast.
I mean, we can ask them. Do you guys? Are you? Who's still listening? We're done. What are you still doing here?
What are you doing?
Go
Go
home. Podcast is over.
I love us. All right. Well, until next time.
Divorced,
Divorced, beheaded, died.
died.
Divorced, beheaded, survived. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Farewell.